When former Senator Ben Sasse was asked about the idea that Trump wouldn't leave in 2020, his comment was, "He says crazy stuff. We've always had a peaceful transfer of power. It's not going to change." But it did change because it wasn't peaceful. And that's the problem with dictator jokes.
And once again, hey, I'm sorry if I'm beating a dead horse here. I am sorry. But all this should have been a warning. We had so many red flags. This should not have happened. But of course, we got people like Bill, who has no spine whatsoever and finds their political career sitting on a fence. So my question for you guys is Trump a fascist? Like, I know a lot of the conversation before the elections was, is he a fascist? Is he a full-blown Hitler? Is he a Hitler in training? Like, a lot of the talk was just about his rhetoric. And he, even though he has some fascist tendencies his first administration or during his first term, people were still a little hesitant to call him a fascist. But after 4 or 5 months in, I do not care what nobody says. Trump is a fascist. And it's like it's like being in the NFL. Even though you might be the third string punter, okay, which nobody, really knows who that person is, you are still in the NFL. You can't take that away from people. They're still in the NFL. They might be third, fourth string, but they're in it. They made it. They got the contract. That's like Trump. He may not be a full-blown Hitler, thank God, but do you want a fourth string Hitler? Do we want to be okay with that? Do we have to be okay with that? And when it comes to, challenging the election without no evidence, that's pretty fascist-ish, right? When it comes to encouraging political violence, I mean, is that crossing the line? When it comes to attacking the press, suing the press because they say unflattering things about them. I mean, when it comes to demonizing political opponents and not calling them stupid or calling them old or stuff like that, like saying these people, these Democrats are the enemy of the state. They're the enemies. Oh, is that crossing the line? When he's using minorities as scapegoats. Go ahead and learn the history of Hitler and how he rose to power. He utilized the minorities as scapegoats for people to rile up and be mad at someone and not themselves. Because if you look at the conditions of Germany, they could blame themselves. But no, that's too hard for people. So you look for people to blame. Oh, hey, guess what? Trump is doing that. And when it comes to expanding his executive powers, everybody said, there's adults, there's the judicial branch. I can't find them. Trump and his administration is running circles around these people. And during his first administration, at least he had adults in the room. But guess what? He exchanged those people for loyalists, all from Fox and Friends. These people have proven to be yes men and yes women. So he replaced key people who would normally tell him, hey, you can't do that, or I'm not going to do that for you. And replace them with people who are just going to say yes. But at this point, does any of this matter? But of course, we got this guy. Hey, Mr. Bill Maher. And I have it kind of blocked out there because I don't want no copyright type problems with these fools. But people like Bill Maher normalized this type of ignorance. He help normalize this type of destruction, if that makes sense. Like, at some point, Democrats, you can compare Democrats and Republicans. Like, yeah, they're both pretty trash parties. Okay, I got you. But after what Trump has been doing, and even through the campaign trail, everything that he said he wants to do, it is really hard to compare the Republican Party to the Democratic Party. It's not a 1-to-1 ratio no more. You can't use that excuse. One party is obviously worse than the other. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. But people like Bill Maher try so hard to say, oh, he's literally going to go through this whole entire monologue saying how fascist or fascist is Trump is acting, but he has to throw in there, but Democrats are woke. Hey, buddy, that's not the same thing. So let's go ahead. And once again, I'm sorry if I'm talking like this. My allergies is kicking my ass. My nose is all stuffed, so I apologize ahead of time. So let's go ahead and watch.
And finally, new rule, Republicans have to stop excusing all the dictatory stuff that comes out of Trump's mouth by saying, he's just kidding. He says stuff. When Trump proclaimed last year that if he won re-election, he'd be dictator on day one, Republicans said things like,
I think it was a joke.
It's entertainment.
We all know Trump uses unique expressions when he explains things.
yeah. Now, Senate Majority Leader John Thune says when Trump talks about running for a third term, he's having some fun with it, probably messing with you. Yeah. When I challenged Ben Shapiro here on Trump being too dismissive and reposting that Liz Cheney deserves to be tried for treason, Ben answered sarcastically, wait, he said shit? That's crazy. Donald Trump said shit?
Once again, we seen the signs before he was elected. He just didn't jump out of nowhere with this type of rhetoric, with this type of nonsense. He's been like this. That's the only thing he's been pretty consistent on. So why? And I'm probably going to say this a few more times throughout this video. Why did people not believe him the first time? Bill, hey, guess what? He's been saying crazy shit like this before. But you still try to like even the playing field and tell voters, potential voters, I mean, like, it can't be no worse than a Democrat. Like, they're woke and Trump is flirting with fascists, which is the title of your video, flirting with fascism, and you want to try to even that playing field?
This is such an interesting position for a political party to take about their leader. Trust us, there's nothing to worry about. Our guy is just full of shit. Trump is the only president when you're relieved, when he doesn't keep his campaign promises. And always the idea.
Hey, how was that working for the first 100 days? How is he keeping his immigration policies or attempts? Is he keeping that? Because it seemed like he is. Is he starting a tariff war with China and just destroying our economy? Yes, he is. And he told people he was going to do these things. And what did Bill Maher say? He said in an interview with Stephen A. Smith, I'm not going to trip, and I'm paraphrasing, I'm not going to trip out on things that he says. I'm just going to wait until he actually does it. That's pretty stupid to wait for someone to get into power and be essentially controlling over 300 million people. Now, at this point, you want to wait to see what he does? Once again, Bill, can I call you Bill? That was pretty stupid of you.
Idea that if Trump really did cross the line, these Republicans say, oh, they would object. I asked Charlie Kirk about Trump, saying that he would like to put homegrown Americans in Salvadorian prisons. And Charlie said, if he were to do that, I wouldn't support it. But I think that's just a one-liner. Yeah, like Henny Youngman.
And guess what? Reading some articles today, he actually did send some U.S. citizens and deported them to Venezuela. So, hey, Charlie, if you're watching, subscribe. But hey, where's this? I'm not for that. But I get, hey, we're not gonna hear that, right? Of course not. Got you.
Oh, that Andrew Dice Trump. Always trying out new material, workshopping premises like U.S. citizens can be taken off the streets and sent to overseas torture prisons without due process. Get it? I'll be here all week. You, not so much. When former Senator Ben Sasse was asked about the idea that Trump wouldn't leave in 2020, his comment was, he says crazy stuff. We've always had a peaceful transfer of power. It's not going to change. But it did change because it wasn't peaceful. And that's the problem with dictator jokes.
And once again, hey, I'm sorry if I'm beating a dead horse here. I am sorry. But all this should have been a warning. We had so many red flags. This should not have happened. But of course, we got people like Bill, who has no spine whatsoever and finds their political career sitting on a fence. And he's going to say it at some point, you know, I have Republican friends. Well, I'm sorry. If your Republican friends encouraged this and voted for this, then you, at some point, you need to take a look at yourself and say, why do I have these people as friends? I'm sorry. Sometimes you can't have everybody as your friend. Okay, hey, not everybody's a good person to have as your friend. But we're going to make it through this video. Come on.
They don't stay jokes. And flirting with authoritarianism doesn't stay flirting. You know, I've known lots of people in relationships who think you can flirt with other people and not act on it. Even women do it. Oh, I flirt, but I never do anything. I've seen them do it right in front of their husband. I guess it makes it hotter for these poor, bored fucks. Sure, she's sitting on Tom's lap in the middle of the party, but when we get home, this is the face she'll be sitting on.
Once again, I don't know what kind of friends Bill Maher has, but you obviously need better friends at this point. If that's your punchline right there.
Hey, whatever works for you, but I'm telling you, humans cannot be trusted to just flirt with other attractive humans, and the MAGA crowd cannot be trusted to flirt with dictatorship. Not everyone who flirts cheats, but all cheating starts with flirting. I'm not in bed with Putin, he's just my work wife. Okay, but aren't we kind of past the flirting phase now? Sure, Trump's love letters to Kim Jong-un and his siding with Putin at Helsinki and the tanks in the streets on his birthday, all coquettish good fun. And the lock her up chants and the suing the press and calling them enemy of the people and saying shoplifters should get shot on sight. Innocent flirting, all of it. Except, you know, I don't know. Now it seems a little less like just flirting and more like we're actually meeting every afternoon at the Motel 6.
Hey, Bill, it'd be crazy if you knew a bunch of this stuff before. It's like dating someone and you've seen obvious signs of them cheating on you. Obvious signs. And you had 10 years of all this proof and you still decide to get married to them. Bill, that is you. You're the dummy that still decided to get married to whoever, and you've seen the red flags. You've seen the obvious proof.
Around the third time someone accidentally made the straight arm salute, even Nick Fuentes, white nationalist, said, "It's getting a little excessive even for me." And so I gotta ask, what about the rest of you, my Republican friends? And yes, I do have Republican friends, and I know that makes me a very bad person. Because it makes me less pure, and as we all know, purity wins elections and solves problems.
I so hate this go-to punchline here, this overplayed talking point. Like, you guys are just mad at me because, like, I have Republican friends, or you guys are just mad at me because I speak my mind, and I'm being truthful and honest. No. Have you ever thought maybe you're just a dumbass? Maybe nobody likes you. It has nothing to do with who's your friends. It's just you're an idiot. And you talk to millions of people and have zero idea what you're talking about. That's why people don't like you. It's not because you have Republican friends. Are we in high school? Yeah. Bill, what are we doing here? Gosh.
Oh, wait. It doesn't. That's right, it doesn't. I forgot. No, it doesn't. And to think that the best thing you can do when you have absolutely no power is to ignore the people who have all of it is straight up delusional. On January 6, 2021, at the end of the day, Mike Pence did the right thing and would not go along with the scheme to steal the election. And neither would Republican stalwarts like William Barr and Dick Cheney and Liz Cheney and Mitt Romney and Mitch McConnell, all of whom full-throatedly said he lost. Brad Raffensperger in Georgia refused to find him 11,000 more votes. These are what I've always called the good-as-it-gets Republicans. And I know that's not much to hang your hat on, but I must remind Democrats, you no longer even own a hat rack.
What? What does that even mean? Because the last time I checked, the Democratic Party disavows Trump. But like 99%, it might be that one Democrat that's like, oh, Trump isn't too, I don't know. So, but you're talking about Republicans, like you can name them on one hand, like who barely have a spine to speak up against Trump. What do you think that's okay? You think having a handful of Republicans against 97% of the rest of the Republican Party? Bill, that joke is dumb as hell. But of course, like I told you guys at the beginning, he's trying to still find ways to be like, but Democrats are just as stupid. Like, no, I'm sorry. The Republican Party won this challenge of who can be the most reckless party of all time. The Republican Party won that championship already. I'm sorry. But of course, leave it to Bill to try to like still both sides the whole situation. That's not gonna work.
My choice of maintaining communication with the deplorables may only have a 1% chance of succeeding, but I guarantee your method of running out of the room screaming, "I'm not talking to you," has 0. I've taken some shit from the loony left for just reporting honestly how the president reacted in private when I criticized him to his face, when plainly what I should have said is that he eats with his hands and that he showed me his collection of human ears pressed between the pages of Mein Kampf. But I didn't.
So, and this, once again, this would be a cute conversation if he wasn't president. And second of all, no one is saying you can't have these conversations with Republicans. Like, who are you listening to? Random people on TikTok? Bill, you're like 70 something years old. Like, stop crying, okay? Stop licking your own wounds at this point, okay? What people have a problem with, like myself, is when you start to adopt talking points from the Republican Party and dishing that out to the Democratic Party. Supposedly you're a Democrat. I don't know. No one can really tell in 2025. But when you're taking created, played out boogeymans like woke or DEI or remember critical race theory, you're taking those dumbass talking points as if it's true. And people like myself who knows that being woke or the whole entire woke fight here is just made up. And you're falling for it. And that's why people like myself call you a dumbass. That's simple. But of course, like, you know, you got to pretend like, you know, I'm just, you know, telling the truth and blah, blah. Like, no, I'm sorry. You're just a dumbass. But please continue.
But I didn't do that. I was honest about it. And that gives me standing to say to conservatives, now, okay, you appreciated my honesty and balls. Now I want to see your balls. Wait, that's not what that didn't come out. Not how I meant it to come out. What I mean is, it's your turn. You know things aren't going well, and the first 100 days has been, yes, a shit show. Show me you can be honest about that. Show me you're not just a MAGA cultist.
Okay. Now, once again, I'm sorry if I'm just repeating myself, but like, it seems like people are not understanding this. People like Bill, like, who cares if Republicans start to come out like Candace Owens? I did a video of Candace Owens talking about how Trump is shitting on the First Amendment for these college universities. Well, guess what? Trump does not care about Candace Owens. He's not going to watch her video and be like, I guess Candace is right. Like, how did I miss this? I'm sorry, Candace. I would never do this again. No. So you think he's going to care about what some senator said about him and his terrorists or how he's handling immigration? He does not care. And the people that could stop him, that should stop him, are now replaced with yes men who are going to say yes and make up all these excuses that's needed for him to continue. Who cares if you're talking to Charlie Kirk? And even if Charlie Kirk says, damn, Trump is breaking laws now. He's deporting U.S. citizens and we can't have that. Guess what? Yes, Donald Trump is not going to care. You think he built his administration and his reputation on Charlie Kirk? No. So, Bill, I don't understand what you're trying to rally up here. Trump's approval ratings is the worst within 100 days than any sitting U.S. president in history. Before, Trump would have cared, but now he doesn't. He does not care. When our stock markets were falling and falling and falling, he didn't flinch. He wasn't like, oh man, like, you know, I need to worry about my figure and what people think of me. No, he does not care. It's too late. You already bought what you wanted. You cannot get your money back. No matter what Republicans turn on, no matter who you talk to on your stupid ass podcast, Trump is already in office. We should have had this conversation before you convinced people to vote for him, before you decided to normalize this craziness. That's why I hate politics. This is why I hate politics. We should have had this conversation before, but now it's too late. So now we're just Monday morning quarterbacking here. Oh, this and this is bad. Well, no shit. And he told you he was going to do this. We got 4 years of this, guys. But hey, of course, thank you for watching. If you agree or disagree with anything I said in this video, let me know in the comments down below, or hit that blue sky link in the description so we can have that one-on-one talk. And like always, let's have that conversation.